Hello everybody, it's Dina and I'm here with a tutorial, and it's not really a tutorial. If you are doing the temperature blanket with me this year, I'm just going to show you how I'm doing my blanket in case you didn't understand my directions verbally. This is my tracking for the temperature blanket. Now, if you don't know all the details, I will link the video down below that I describe in detail about my temperature blanket crochet along this year. All about the yarn, the pattern, where you go to get your local temperatures, how we're doing it, and where to post your pictures and all of that fun. Okay, so assuming you've looked at all that and you know the details, I just made, and I linked this down below in the original video, and I'll link it down below again. Excuse me while I focus. So this is just my tracking, and I pretty much, don't know why it's not, okay. So I just have the days of the month, and then the high temperature, and what color it is, the low temperature, and what color. So and these colors. For the first 3 Wednesdays of January, we had the highs of 66, 39, and 51, and that was Green Apple, Porcelain Blue, and Spa. And the lows were 50, 30, and 33, which was Spa and 2 Twilight Blues. So January 4th is the first Wednesday of the month, so that will have Green Apple. Oh, here comes a cat. Yeah. So the first week, first Wednesday is January 4th, and we're going to have Green Apple and Spa for where I am in Richfield, Connecticut. The second Wednesday, we're going to have Porcelain Blue and Twilight Blue. And the third Wednesday is Spa and Twilight Blue. Now I've done the first 2 Wednesdays, and this is how it looks. This is the first Wednesday, which is the high and the low, and then the second Wednesday, high and the low. Okay, so we're going to move on. I'm just going to tell you, when you make this, make it chain as wide as you want it to be. And I don't remember what I chained, but I could tell you what it measures. So it's about 78 inches wide. That's how wide mine is. So you pick however wide. What you have to keep in mind is that you're going to have 2 rows per week, okay? So since there's 52 weeks in a year, that means you're going to have 104 rows. It's okay, so it should be a multiple of 3 plus 1. So 12 is a multiple of 3, and then I'm just going to add 1 more for the turning. Okay? So you can make this as long as you want, as long as the multiple is 3 plus 1, which means you make sure you have enough change that it's divisible by 3. 3 can go into it evenly. And then you just add 1 chain once you have that set number. Okay? To start it, you're going to do 2 double crochets in the 4th chain from the hook. Now, I always work in the back bump to make a clean edge. So right here, this is never counts as a loop, as a hook, or as a chain. But if you turn it, right here you see all your V's. But if you turn it, you're going to see this little bump. And I'm going to work on this focusing. But you see, here's a bump, here's a bump, here's a bump, here's a bump right there. So I'm going to go into the 4th bump in the back. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to do 2 double crochets. Here's 1. And here's 2. So what happened with this is those 3 chains that I skipped count as a double crochet. So right now I have 3 double crochets in 1 stitch. Okay, so that's the first cluster. Now I'm going to skip 2 chains and make 3 double crochets into the next So skipping 2, skipping 1, 2. So in the third one, do 3 double crochets. Okay, and that's all we're going to repeat. Okay, so you're going to do skip 2, and then in the third you're going to make 3 double crochets, and you're going to repeat that to the end, and then at the end you'll chain 3 and turn. So since this is super short, I'll just do it with you. So we're going to skip 2, and in the third one we're going to do 3 double crochets. Okay, and now there should be 2 to skip, boom, boom, and the last one you're going to do 3 double crochets. 1, sorry, 2, and 3. Okay, pull some yarn. So what we have here is the first cluster, which consists of the 3 chains that we skipped, because then remember we did 2 double crochets in the 4th chain. So here's 3 chains and then 2 double crochets, and that equals the first cluster. Here's the second, here's the third and fourth. So we have 4 double crochet clusters. Now to begin the next row, we're going to chain 3, and this starts the repeat. The second row and the third row, excuse my dog, is the repeat. So chain 3, and we turn our work. And now we're going to do 3 double crochet in between the 3 double crochet cluster. Okay? So here's a 3 double crochet cluster, and here's a 3 double crochet cluster. So we're going to do 3 double crochet cluster in between right here. So we're going to do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. And now we don't have to go into stitches. This is what makes this so easy. So now on this row, we're just going to go in between the clusters, and then it's a little different down here. So now we're going to do 3 double crochets in between the next in that space. 1, 2, 3. And then we have 1 more space in between. 1, 2, 3. Now, this is a cluster right here. Remember, it's the chain 3 that we skipped and then the 2. So now to end the row, we're going to do a double crochet into the top of the turning chain. Now this was the starting, but this is like 1, 2, 3. We're going to do a double crochet at the top of the turning chain. So that's row 2, and as you see, we start with a double crochet and we end with a double crochet here. That's row 2. Now row 3, again, always chain 3 and turn. And now you're going to do 2 double crochets in the space. Now here's the space between the double crochet and the cluster. Now since this is going to count as a double crochet, you do 2. And as you see, that gives you essentially 3 double crochets. And now again, in between the 2 clusters in that space, you're going to do 3 double crochets. Now, of course, when you're doing this with your temperature blanket, you're going to switch colors, and I'm going to show you that next. I just wanted to go over the pattern. So see the next space in between the next 2, I'm doing 3 double crochet. And now we're at the end of the row, and there's a space, just like in the beginning, between, there's a space from the chain 3 and the 3 double crochet. So this, on the third row, you don't, so you go all the way, you know, because you're going to have a much longer row. So in between each space, you make 3 double crochets, okay? And you repeat that all the way to the end. And at the end, you also do 3 double crochet into the space between the last double crochet cluster and the chain, turning chain, which is right here. So you just still do 3 double crochets. Okay, and then you turn. So here we go. So row, the setup row, which was row 1, that was the row that we did 2 double crochets in the 4th chain. So those 3 chains that we skipped counts as a double crochet. So that's your first 3 double crochet cluster, and we skipped 2 chains, did 3 double crochet cluster, skipped 2 chains, 3 double crochet cluster, skip 2, and in the last chain we did a 3 double crochet cluster. That's row 1, that's your setup row. Row 2, you chain 3, and we turned, and we did, so we chained 3, which is going to count as like a straight double crochet, and then we jumped over to the first space in between 2 clusters, and we did 3 double crochet. Then we jumped to the next space, 3 double crochet, and the next space, 3 double crochet. Then at the end of that row, we did a double crochet in the top of this chain 3. So the row 2, you have 1 double crochet here and 1 here, and the clusters in between. Now, row 3, you chain 3 and turn, and then you do 2 double crochet in that space. So that chain 3 counts as a double crochet, 2 more double crochets in that space. Now you skip to the next space and you do 3 double crochet, next space 3, and the last space between 3 double crochet cluster and the last chain 3 or double crochet, you do 3 double crochets. And that's what you keep repeating is row 2 and 3, and the only difference is whether you have the clusters in the beginning or just the double crochet and then skip to the next space. That's the only difference. Figure this out. Okay, so now what I'm going to show you is changing color. And I just put a stitch marker where I left off, so I'm starting at the right place, because I like to weave in my ends as I go, so when I'm done with the 2 rows or 3 rows, however many like weeks, I did these 2 weeks at the same time, and then I just weaved in my ends, and then I just put a stitch marker knowing where I'm going to pick up. So those are week 1, week 2, now we're in week 3, so the high is the first temperature, and that is Spa. So I'm going to grab Spa, and it's this beautiful blue. And I'm going to go in to where the stitch marker is, because that's where I left off. And there's so many ways you can do this. I just got to take out the stitch marker so it doesn't get in the way. I'm just going to pull up a loop. Now, a lot of people, you can tie a knot, you can do a lot of different things. I'm just going to pull up a loop and chain 1 and pull it down really tight, okay? Now as you see here, the last row I did, there was a double crochet here, a space, and a chain 3, or 3 cluster. So now I'm going to pull this down really tight. I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to turn my work. And then, because there's a space, I'm going to put 2 more double crochets in here because this counts as 1. So we're going to do 1 and 2. And that is our first double crochet cluster of this row. And I just pull that tight. And that's it all the way down this row to the end. I'm just going to go in between the spaces and do 3 double crochet cluster. And it's really easy, very fast, perfect stitch to watch a show. Oh, sorry. And that's why I like it, because it's one of those ongoing projects and you want it to be mindless, in my opinion. And I just happen to love this granny stitch look on blankets, especially blankets with different colors. So you just keep doing this all the way down until you get to the end. And when I get to the end, I'll jump back on just to remind you, and then I'll show you how I change colors for the next temperature. Okay, So I'm going to do 1, 2, and on the third one, we're going to leave it unfinished. And I'm going to cut my yarn about like that. These scissors. Okay, and my next color is Twilight. It is the Twilight Blue. Doesn't really look like, but okay, let's get the Twilight Blue. And again, I have my little cheat card, so if you look here, Twilight Blue, it's right here, and you go over, and this is it. And I know this is it. So now I finish it. I finish this. I just lay the yarn over the hook, kind of squeeze it so it doesn't fall off, and I just pull through the last two. And I kind of make this tight. So that's one way of doing it. Now, I don't love this look. I think it's a little messy. And we're going to be doing weaving in ends no matter what. So what I do is I finish the double crochet. So they're equal. And then I chain 2 because that's how I finish it. And then I just pull this really tight. Okay? And that's finished. So now I'm going to go in here. And then I'm going to pull up a loop and chain 1, pull it down tight, and start the new row, which is always chain 3, turn, and this is the row that you do just a double crochet at the end here. See, I'm going to pull that because there's no space, so you go into the first space. So there's no cluster to start. Like this was a cluster to start, so this row is just going to start with double crochet and then go over to the first space and do 3 double crochet. Okay? And I'm going to do that all the way across, just like before. And then when we end doing a double crochet, like we're going to keep doing 3 double crochet cluster in each space, all the way to the end. And then when you get down to here, you're going to do 3 double crochet cluster in the space, 3 double crochet cluster in this space, and then on the top of this chain 3, and you can see here's 1, 2, 3, right here, I'm just going to do a single double crochet, chain 3 and turn, and that's it. And I just think it's coming out beautiful already with these colors. And that's just a wrap up of how I'm doing this. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments down below. I'd be happy to clarify if this wasn't, you know, easy to understand or anything. But I just find that this pattern is awesome for something that we're changing colors constantly. And I think it's going to turn out absolutely beautiful. And I'm really happy about these colors. I mean, look at how beautiful. Gorgeous. So that's it. That's the temperature blanket. Now I have the original video linked down below explaining the whole temperature blanket crochet along. I hope this helped everybody, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.